allow the equipment to be loaned out. Are you in favor of that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
All right, aye. So the motion, we will not be lending out our equipment. All right,
Yes.
all right. We are motion denied. We will not be lending out our equipment. Sorry, we're having fun tonight. All right. Next order of business is discussion of changes in Florida statute effective July 1st of 2024. Janet.
All right, I'm going to give you some updates, but because I am well aware, I've been working on this for weeks, I'm well aware that there's a lot of social media, podcasts, TV, news things. I want to be very clear that the law changing all those parking regulations is homeowner law for those who are monitored by 720. It is the HOA statute. It has nothing whatsoever to do with condominiums at all. So I'm going to give you the updates on the 718, but I know that there were some concerns, people with commercial vehicles thinking that they could now park them here or park where they want. The answer is no, you may not. So I'll go over some of the big changes. I did a thing for the board. It doesn't all apply to all the owners unless you get on the board, so I'll just give a quick recap. If you're already on the board, you've taken your board certification class, you have 1 year until June of 2025 to get the new 4-hour class done. So in other words, you can't count the 2 hours you already did, but you have a year to get it done. Anyone new coming on has to take a 4-hour class. Then, if you're on the board, every year that you are on the board, you have to take a 1-hour continuing education that pertains to the new updates on the statute. They change every year in July, and then all the attorneys will offer an update on the legislature. You have to take a 1-hour class. Failure to do any of those items means you are off the board immediately upon the expiration of those dates, and the board can fill the vacancy temporarily until you comply. You're not off for good. But if you don't get your class by the end of June 2025, and you get it in August, you're off until August, and they can fill that slot. We already have the board meetings quarterly, but you have on here an owner comment section where we have a comment that, and I took it off this one, you can bring non-agenda items to the board for future consideration. I'm dying to eat. Holy cow. It's on like 60,000 feet. It might be menopause. Okay.
No, it's not you.
But anyway, now has to be a Q&A. So at the end of the board meetings, it has to be a Q&A, so the board will answer questions. However, because particularly at this community, there has been a demand for answers. The answer may be, I'll have to look into that and get back to you. I don't have it readily available, especially if people don't give you any heads up before they come to the meeting what they're going to be inquiring about. So you can certainly respond, but we do have to have that on there, and it's supposed to be called owner Q&A. I believe it was put on there because, again, most of these laws are because of the East Coast people being crazy, but they don't allow their owners to speak other than the 3 minutes on the agenda item. That's it. They don't allow them to talk at all. You already have the owner comment section. It's not going to change much. So that's on there. Let's see. Let's go on. Quick here. 45. You don't have that. Request documents. Website. Board member. I highlighted this one for all of my boards, but for you guys particularly, you had asked about that. Anyone who is delinquent and at the attorney or not paying their bills, you can decide to not allow them to vote on items, and it takes them out of the quorum notice and the count, lowers your count, but you have to give them 90 days advance notice that you're suspending those rights.
Can you say that one again?
If they're delinquent, not paying, or they're at the attorney, 90 days advance, like this special assessment, special membership meeting vote, 90 days in advance, we could have said to about 30 people, you don't have the opportunity to vote, we suspended your voting rights, right?
Is that something we don't have to update
No, the
We can do
statute
because
says
it's a
it,
statute,
yeah.
okay.
Interfering in the election in any way has criminal penalties. That includes any board member campaigning on behalf of or against other particular members, so keep that in mind. Electronic consent, poor Susan, because I just sent you the form, right? But anybody who wants to get all their statutory items by email instead of mail delivered, well, I don't need you to sign a form anymore. You can just email me and say, use this email, and I'm so excited about that. Electronic voting. Megan, I think you brought it up at one time, trying to go electronic. So the thing with the electronic voting is, if you go to an electronic voting platform, once a condominium board chooses to do that, you have to provide it every year for every vote until all owners decide that they no longer want electronic voting availability. So you just build the cost into your budget. Website changes. There's new items that have to be on there by January 1st, 2025. They'll be there, not a big deal. It's going to be the board member certificates are going to be up there, and bids and contracts are now going to be on there. And then the last thing, which the board and I will start working to put something together, is a hurricane shutters. They have to adopt a policy regarding hurricane shutters. They can go so far as to adopt what color, style, model, they'll accept, and then they have to define who is going to be responsible for them, whether it's an owner cost or whether it's a board cost. Like an owner cost, put them up if you want. Board, we're going to put them up for everybody. People who already have them can't be included as special assessment or have to be given a credit. If we pay for it outright without a special assessment. So there's all these different rules about it. But basically the board has to just clearly define a policy on hurricane shutters. This is what we will accept. This is who's responsible for the maintenance, the upkeep, the installation, if you want them, or we're having them put in on, such and such a deal. No, when they can be up, I think is already in your documents, but if it's not, we can put it in there. But that it's usually when imminent threat is declared by the governor, right? And then, and I think I don't want to mess it up because it's warning and watch. So I think it's when a warning is issued is imminent threat, and then to 3 days after the storm or something to that effect. But I'll check some other condos, but that is not necessary, but you can put it in there. So those are the only things that change for condo. I know there's a lot of talk out there online and on the news about all these big changes, things in your backyard. That's HOA. It's not condo, so just FYI, everybody. Okay, that's it for me on that.
Do any of the board members have questions? Silence. Anybody in the audience?
Yes, regarding the first topic of commercial vehicles, Florida statute, specifically 320.01 subsection 25, defines a commercial vehicle pretty specifically, and it has to exceed 25,000 pounds in weight and have to have over 2 axles.
Yes, it does.
To be a commercial vehicle.
Right.
So a work van, so given that logic, a work van would not be considered a commercial vehicle, is that correct?
No, not, and I'll tell you why.
Explain.
720 refers you to the state law. 718 does not, and 718 has county law that defines a commercial vehicle, and Manatee County defines it as, emblem or toolbox or, et cetera, et cetera.
What were those statute numbers?
718.
Okay. And this is county or state?
718 is the Florida State condominium law. What you're reading is 720. That's where you got that information that everybody's talking about. 718 is condominium and co-op. 719, I think, is mobile homes. 720 is homeowners associations, and 720 is timeshares, maybe. But you're governed by 718, and Manatee County defines a commercial vehicle differently than the Florida statute. That
So
creates,
county trumps state, you're saying?
No, the state can say one thing, the county can define it more, and then your documents can define it more. Now, in the homeowner association, they said, we don't care what these say, we're doing this. They didn't do that over here in 718. They did it in 720. They're gonna need to go back and fix it for people because it's not clear. When they also called it, I don't know if you saw the other piece, but they referred to it as a personal vehicle, and there is no definition in the county or the state of a personal passenger vehicle. It's either they define commercial, they define, I'm trying to think the word they use. But anyway, they don't have a personal vehicle. But in any case, that's all 720. Nothing changed in 718 at all. 718 says, you know, that the board has the right to adopt rules, that they're, you know, et cetera, and then your documents have language in there. Your documents say Manatee, any municipal code, et cetera, the use restrictions. I don't know off the top of my head. I just know every condominium meeting I've been to since that started, I've had the same discussion. It is 720 that changed, not 718, I'm sorry. But Manatee County does define, you can look up commercial Manatee, it's under code enforcement, Manatee County Code Enforcement, commercial vehicle, and it will define all kind of, you know, it has emblem on it, placard on it, like specific lights, toolboxes, ladder racks, it has all.
So a police vehicle wouldn't be considered a
No emergency vehicles are considered commercial vehicles. They changed that a long time ago. No emergency vehicles are. So, and the HOAs and condominiums cannot consider them commercial vehicles. First responder vehicles, that's what it is, first responder vehicles, yeah, or not. So, I know it's frustrating. Again, had this conversation every condominium meeting I've gone to. They're reporting it, but they're not letting people know the difference. That's it.
What can we do with this furniture? I mean, I have a suggestion. Because we don't know when
Can we
they're
table that until we get through the agenda?
Oh, I thought we were done.
No,
Yeah.
we still have a couple of,
I wrote it down.
we have a couple of things, so we'll come back to
Okay,
it.
got it. I thought we were done.
Yeah, no problem. Okay, any other?
Oh, I see, we've got to.
Yep, any other questions on the changes in Florida on July 1st? Okay, moving on to the next topic, which is consideration of cluster master expenditures over $1,000.
Oh, okay, hang on, that's me.
That's Jan.
Here we go. All right. And these are retro because they were already repaired. Anderson Asphalt for $1,175. Nancy can tell us maybe which one that was because I got another one. There was a second one. Oh no, we approved the other one.
That's the one in front of Stallone.
Okay.
There was a water line that broke, in a carport underneath the asphalt. And it was flooding the joint. I mean, it was water. And so we had to have the asphalt cut out because they had to find the leak. And they did find the leak. And in order to repair that, we had Sewell come in and fix the plumbing.
Well, on that note, Master for $4,711.75 from Sewell Plumbing for all of that work.
All the work that they did to cut out the asphalt and all the other stuff, they didn't lay it back down. And they fixed the pipes, and Anderson came in and had to fix the asphalt because it was right smack in the middle of a one-woman's carport. And there was no way she could park there because there was a hole this deep that needed to be filled. So we had to have it repaired. And that was on an emergency basis because of the amount of money that was being lost with the water and,
Well, it was bubbling up out of the ground, right?
It sure
So,
was.
yeah, it
Right
has
up.
to be fixed.
But it was bubbling up about 9 feet away from where the leak actually was.
Okay, cluster one, A to Z homes, 6162, $9,800 total. And this was for repair
replaced the
Stucco and-
stucco, it had
Leaks and lintels,
windows
loose stucco,
and lintels that needed to
repair
be
things.
replaced, and the whole 9 yards. One estimate in cluster 2 for the similar kind of work was $45,000. I found another contractor who has done a lot of work in this cluster, or in this entire area, that,
But he didn't pull-
98.
he didn't pull
No, he didn't.
Okay, so don't compare him to the 45,000, because it's not, it's totally
Well,
not the
that's
same.
fine.
All right.
Alright.
But he did it for 98.
All right, Certapro, here we go, 4,500 and 2,250. That's because people can't seem to not hit your carport, which I suggested painted bright orange. Both of these have to be approved, but they are both going back to the people that did the damage. So one is a woman in a car, and the other is the
School bus.
company that owns the bus.
The woman in
Twin
the
Angels.
car, I would raise a new point, they're adding a speed limit sign somewhere.
Nancy, someone who's going so fast and plows into a carport is not paying attention to the speed limit.
Well, she was also
But-
cited for.
But,
She was cited
got-
for
just
careless driving.
Yeah, so,
Careless
Yeah.
driving on that one.
Not the
She
first
took our
time.
entire carport half down.
It's not the first time she's come through
Oh.
here like a bat out of hell.
No, it's not.
same
Yeah.
person.
Yep.
Yes.
She almost hit John
Right.
Scalone.
Cluster two for $2,915.48, that's for unit 6326, that was water damage. Cluster four, 8,870 was for termite, treatment, had to be done. And cluster four, 6366. Now, $17,186.40 to rebuild the entire stairwell, ledger board, railing, debris, etc. So,
6366?
yes.
oh, I was just giving you the area of like where, yeah, it wasn't one unit. I was just saying, yeah, it was for a stair
But
thing.
it's along 7th Avenue, that whole section that was completely tore out, you can see it's a different because of the color.
Oh,
On the south side.
yeah.
Had to be completely replaced. Is that all of them?
So, that's it. That's all of them. They were all emergency. I don't know of any that need to be approved in advance of work that anyone has presented. No. Okay.
Alright,
Motion?
motion to approve.
I'll make the motion to approve them.
Second.
Thanks, Charlie.
Alright, those in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. Those opposed? Okay, no one, it passes. Alright, so this is,
No, not to my knowledge, no.
okay, just want to check on the last item, which is consideration of other last minute contract proposals. There are none that have been turned in. Charlie, Don, and Robin, nothing?
No.
Okay.
Nope, I don't have any.
Awesome.
For me.
Okay, fantastic. All right, next order of business is open floor. So owners may present non-agenda items to the attention of the board for future consideration and response.
Who was sitting right here that got?
Lori.
That was Lori.
She's gone?
Yeah, she left me.
Okay.
Okay, okay, it goes along with what I was asking. The furniture that's down there, okay, obviously, we're still waiting and waiting. Is there another option that we have? I mean, is there, we've had help from, for instance, from Jesus before to do other things, that we've paid him for. Is there something that we can do with him where he can take it? We have no idea when they're coming.
Does he have a trailer or something?
Oh, yeah, he has
Yeah.
trucks,
I
big
mean,
trucks.
that's up to you guys if you wanna pay. I told the board, I think we can call like junk loggers, we could ask Casey
Yeah, we need to do
whatever.
something, because the last thing,
Nice.
I don't know if she's still here. Laura, homeless person sleeping out there?
There's a homeless guy sleeping on her
Okay,
bed.
on the-
Yeah.
That's
two.
why I give him a free bus.
Yeah, right?
Can you put his stick on?
Extra.
dump into the dumpster?
No, they won't
It
pick up
won't
the
fit.
dumpster.
It won't fit.
You have to break it up, you have to break it up, I'm sure.
Now,
Cut it apart, yeah.
this was extremely long because we reached out to them, I think Megan, you sent me the pictures first, right? Well, it was like a couch one day and then like a whole bedroom set got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
It's like a whole living room.
I don't know if you got the email, but Manatee County rolled out their new website thing for everybody, so they didn't get back to us. It took them over a week to get back to us and then say we'll be there within a week or two, so,
Get 7 to 10 business days.
yeah, something like that.
No, that's on the past.
Oh, it's
Oh,
been
yeah.
forever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Her question, couple of questions is basically how much is a large dumping fee?
How much it costs for them to come
Does
pick
it
it up?
depend on how much
It depends on the, if you go out to the Lena, it's weight. Like when you go in, they weigh your vehicle, when you come out, they weigh it.
okay, by
And you pay
weight?
by weight. A regular household, like have filled my entire SUV up with stuff, even broken furniture, it's $20. But I just don't know what a truck
I mean, these
full
are,
furniture.
These
these
are
are
her,
very large.
these are her questions. She wants to know if we had something where, if, say we had something at a certain time frame, so people knew, and then they could bring it all out at a certain time frame, and then it got picked up, instead of everybody just going out and just dumping it there. It wouldn't make any difference.
I don't think it would make any
Yeah.
difference because you still got the end of the month move
We
out.
still have
Yeah.
people doing it.
Okay. And
Could we
then,
get some kind of security?
We are looking at adding cameras.
Yeah.
Yep, pointing towards the dumpsters.
and then that comes to her last question, what other options do we have?
People stole them.
Not if they're up high enough.
All right, who's up next?
With regard to maintenance fees, a couple of years ago, our property insurance increased tremendously, like $135 per month jump. Now, it hasn't gone down for us since then, and the news today says we anticipate they're asking for 14% increase in insurance companies are for this coming year.
Citizens.
And I'm sure we'll get it. So, instead of using the money that's burning a hole in your pocket for upgrades and so forth, why don't you return some of that money to the homeowner and lower the maintenance fees and just keep things up to par?
You are. They negotiated a lower monthly cable thing for everyone, so
Well-
everyone will get that.
Well, that's not saying making a difference in our pockets.
But a lot
now.
of people
What
want
we
this
were
place to
paying.
look better.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
want
Take
improvements
that
in the
money and
place.
give it back to us in maintenance fees.
Are we allowed to comment?
Reduce the maintenance fees if you have money you want to
The
spend.
majority of the people that live here want it to look better
Nice,
here.
yeah.
And they want improvements here.
And security.
Well, if the majority.
And security.
And,
Yeah.
yeah, it wasn't money collected out of your pockets, to be clear. It was a signing bonus for signing.
I didn't
the
imply
contract.
that.
Hmm?
I didn't imply.
I know, I just wanted to throw that out there so people know, yeah, it wasn't out of your pockets and we're not
Yeah.
giving it back.
Yeah. And as far as upgrades go, Mahatma Gandhi, before he made a decision on any economics, he considered what he did to the poorest of his people. And that's what I think you should do here. Now, I'm hearing comments here about, oh, let's upgrade, well, if you can afford it, fine. Otherwise, though, you're running people less fortunate than you, you're running them out of their homes.
Can
And you're talking about you want people who live here and not rent and so forth. It's the opposite, talking out both sides of your mouth.
I appreciate your feedback. I'll tell you, as a newer owner, I'm in my second year, the struggle is that because the HOA fees were not appropriately increased over the last numerous
40
decades, I'm sorry, out of efforts to save money in your pocket and people that have been around for decades, it's now coming back to bite us, the current owners, regardless of age, regardless of how long you've been here. So you could use me for an example. I just got here, and I find it frustrating that that we can't use some of our money to improve, because we definitely do need some improvements. and yet all of the money is going towards dilapidated buildings and things that homeowners have not been taken care of, or that were not addressed because we haven't had the money in the budget appropriately, because there were not increases when they needed to be happening. Because because people, you know, are looking out for their current situation. In order for us to be successful, we have to look not only in present day, but in what it's gonna look like a month from now, a year from now, 10 years from now, et cetera.
Well, now, taking care of dilapidation is maintenance. That's
And it
not
wasn't
improvement.
done. It wasn't done in the past.
Take it.
That's the problem.
I understand.
Yeah.
So what's
That's
happening?
So you maintain, you need to maintain it.
And it costs money to maintain.
Ladies,
It
say
takes-
thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And so I will say one other thing. In our budget at least, I could say that all of the money goes towards pretty much emergency expenses of things breaking and falling apart, very expensive emergency
Yeah.
expenses. So therefore, there's never anything left to do any improvements, none. So,
Yep.
Yeah,
Anything else?
we're talking, you're talking about the fence raise.
No.
That's not gonna hurt anyone the way it is right now.
No, I'm not talking about the fence, I'm talking about overall.
For instance, we're talking about improvements, that's what I'm talking about. Rather than taking care of what's necessary in order to maintain the place looking nice. When I moved here 9 years ago, this is a beautifully landscaped place, and that was one thing that drew me here. Very attractive.
And we have homeless living
All right.
right next door.
I made a note, I'm gonna say something else too, because there's a Q&A now that has to be on the agenda. As of the July meeting, you are not allowed to speak until you announce who you are, so I can get it in the minutes. I do not know everyone by face by any means. So you need to tell me who you are so that I can get the comments in the minutes for you. Just FYI, I just thought of that when you were talking because I cannot remember your name.
Oh, you called me Hank earlier, but my name is Hayward Hawkins.
I don't think I said Hank in my life.
Oh, really? Well, you just haven't been around very much.
All right. Anybody else? Yep.
And I don't expect some long-winded answers, but where are we at with respect to reserve analysis or toward the end of this year? What's going on with that? I know that's a big can of worms, but I guess I'd like to hear at least a little bit about
The first drafts came in. The board has some questions and concerns, but again, this goes back to the budget. I heard that same thing about citizens insurance, which you happen to have right now. I know the board's looking into other insurance options for you already before we start budgeting. To answer your question, I'm going to be blunt. I'm just going to throw it out there. I don't want all of you to get crucified. I think everyone in here is going to see an increase because the deferred maintenance items have never been funded properly. They pretty much every cluster fully funded their reserves. They just never updated the amount of what fully funded means, nor the years of life left on these items. Megan has major issues. I'll give you a prime example. Twice this year, major leak repairs because each year there was no money left to mulch. We were fixing roofs, we were fixing old roofs, we were fixing gutters that broke. There was no money. Now you've got it to the point where literally water is getting in people's units from under the foundation. So we have to order mulch. So those kind of things where people thought they'd skimp, they'd save, we won't raise the reserves, we don't want the dues to go up. That has just, over the years, just been so, I don't manage many associations because I have other duties at CNS, but this is the worst one I've ever seen with deferred maintenance. This community is the worst one that I've ever seen that has not addressed that. What do we need and are we funding it properly? Now we got them, and I think it's sticker shock, but there are some items that have to be worked on before the final copy is done. Like for instance, Nancy's, like certain roofs and one was done, you know, needs to be separated from the other, you know, things like that.
And this is a great example of it all goes back to the desire to save money and to just keep things status quo and not improving when we need to, because improving is part of maintaining, actually.
This is the reserve study.
Correct.
Yes,
Okay.
it is.
And it
Yeah.
is,
Not one cluster is funded properly for the reserves. the master is the closest thing to being funded properly, and even that's pretty way off. So,
So
Well,
it's,
Janet, let's attack it. But, I would like to attack it like this. Not like this, Janet.
no,
we are.
I'm sorry. I'm
Okay,
sorry,
Janet?
budget
So
season's
it's-
coming up.
It's coming, I mean, period, it's coming,
Janet,
yep.
So-
it doesn't mean that we're paying 15,000 assessment in one shot.
These are things that will be discussed, you know, and there are going to be considerations if an assessment, how the assessment's gonna be done and how it's gonna be collected. So there are things that I'm sure this board can agree did not work with the assessments that were issued for this year. So those are things that will be discussed on how to move
Do you
forward.
have a second, Deborah?
But this is,
Um,
the reserve study, actually, the ones that were done for the board for the January 1st of 2025. So they'll be considered at the end of the summer
Hey,
in the
I'm all
planning for
I'm
your
all
next
for-
year.
I'm all for an attacking plan. I'm just saying that it needs to be
How it
attack,
happened
attack,
was
attack,
hard, yep.
small,
It was a, yeah.
Here.
continuously small.
Here's the thing. Okay, you mean instead of all at once?
Continuously small.
Okay, cluster 2 means
Continuously.
a special assessment now.
Yeah, continuously small.
Yeah, and I mean, we just did one for $3,000 at the beginning of the year,
I'm
right?
all for.
And it's horrible feeling because it's not even getting us ahead, it's just constantly playing catch up. So we are paying for the decisions that have been made in the past, it's just what it
I've
is.
been here since '79, I know it needs to happen. I say continuously small, not big.
So what you're saying is not $1,000 a month.
Yeah, we have to build our reserves, continuously small.
We get it.
But
I
those,
understand.
but those special assessments, and maybe one this year, those are not, so let me just put it bluntly and for other people to hear. So one thing is, they are for repairs, again, like Megan said, deferred maintenance that wasn't
They're
taken
not for
care of.
fun.
They're not building your reserves at all, those are depleted,
Okay.
these are just money. These are monies that when your finances come in each month, and your bank account shows negative,
Right.
where did, those vendors were paid because it was an emergency, it had to be repaired. Where did
So-
that money come
so
from?
what-
The other clusters, they
Okay,
don't wanna pay
So
for
what
it.
everybody has continuously asked for in our cluster, and still is not done, is we wanna know what is being done, and how much it's cost, and what, we wanna know, I told her like a checkbook, we wanna know what's
It's
going
But
in,
your financial
what's
is
going out.
online.
It's online.
I
It's
put
not
it on-
online, I look every time.
It's always online, I always update it.
It's
I-
November 23 is the last financial on
No,
there.
we got updated financials.
Well, my financial, my computer.
I may not have updated theirs because the December was so long coming.
Oh, yeah.
Because of the, yeah, so yours may not be because there was issues with the
You
December with
keep
the
telling me I'm
CPA.
looking, I keep looking.
Yeah. Well, you just
The
emailed.
bottom line
You
is
just emailed me, I'll send it.
what is the stack plumbing, that was like the code word of
I'll make it
the
a-
year.
I'll put it on-
Every time we get one of those, you're talking over 12 grand every time. And again, we're just fixing,
I see
problems.
vendors there all the
Yeah.
time, and nobody tells me, what are they doing, what are they fixing? And then I find out a few things here, like she tells me, and then she goes so fast I can't even write it down, but nobody tells us in an email or anything.
All right, this is gonna sound rude too, I don't mean it to, but it is the nature of this. This is a business that we're running, the board has hired me to manage it, so I'm contacting.
hear it- but we can
Just-
hear it
Just
from
a
Megan.
minute, right, I'm hiring, I'm getting the contractors, I'm getting them out here, I'm getting them bids, I'm sending them to the board. We don't have time to report every little thing
Right,
to
but
you.
we can hear it from Megan, right?
If she, yeah, you could hear it from me too, but I just generally do it at the board meeting.
Right.
But if Megan wanted to say, hey, you know, big leak and,
Yeah, I mean, to be frank, I'm not always up on every little repair
because this
because
is
it
why-
goes strrait to Janet. And I simply, I'll be honest, I do not
Okay,
have time to
But you
field that
gotta
all day, every day.
understand why everybody's mad. They always, we're always told we don't have money. And we're always told that our building is falling apart, but nobody tells us what it's being spent on. And, you know what I'm saying?
I just know, like, maybe it was the last meeting, but the meeting before, we handed out all of that stuff from the whole year prior. We went through it, like line item by line item
And
of all
if
these
she
terms.
keeps, no,
Yes.
the answers are always look on the financials, but this is why I keep saying it.
Yeah, your financials were delayed this year because we didn't have the December, but also they're in the minutes. You see anything over $1,000.
Yeah, well,
it has to
the
be
minutes weren't
approved.
updated either, that's why I talked to Laura and I told her the website has not been updated, but everybody gets mad at me when I'm telling the truth.
Well, Susan, I want to say something to you, and I'm going to say it
Ah.
nicely because we did it last time, but I want everyone to hear this because I'm actually writing an article on this, so
Right.
I'm going to publish it. If you hold your frustrations to come to a meeting with a list of items, you do nothing but ambush the board or the management or whoever it is you're with, and nothing but get frustration and agitation back because we're not prepared to answer the question, whatever it may be,
Janet,
or
I've been
the
saying this
thing.
for how long?
But you haven't, I hardly have any emails from you, that's what I'm saying, I don't wanna get into an
You
argument
know
with you.
why?
I'm saying,
Because I can't write them. Ask Laura. Nancy, you know who writes all my emails? Laura Whaley.
Uh-huh.
Jeff Davis. I get
Well,
people to write my emails.
but if you just said to Megan, the financials aren't updated, or Megan, the minutes aren't updated, she would let me know, and I'd say, oh, I
Well,
forgot this month.
Megan is very hard to read. She
I am?
works. Well, she works.
I'm just saying, in general,
Well,
but
I-
that was
I
a
wanna-
good example of
I
it.
wanna
Don't
say
save
something.
it, get it.
I want to
That's
say something
enough.
quickly, okay? Megan is a working professional, I'm a working professional, Fiona is a working professional. I have had people come to my door in the middle of the day to ask me why this pool is not open. I am a working professional. I am answering questions, HOA related, throughout the day from my phone. Having respect for the fact that if we worked off-site, you could not access us. We are trying to address these things as they come, but if you do not get a response within an hour, it's because likely we're working. We are trying to get answers back, and it might take 24 hours. Maybe what we need to do is establish a service level agreement, which is the board will respond to your questions within 48 hours. I don't know what it's necessary, but you have to level set your expectation on when you're going to get an answer back. And you cannot expect it's going to be potentially that same day. We just cannot deliver that every single time.
That's
So-
totally acceptable.
but I'm
I've been to 3 meetings and talked
Yep.
about the same thing.
I understand, and
That's totally acceptable.
so I want to say that, and if we have to get to that point, we're going to get to that point. But we are doing everything we possibly can to get you information when we have it. There are things we have to figure out. Reserve study is one of them. As anything that's going to happen with the HOA dues for next year, assessments, these are all things. And believe you, when we have to levy an assessment or we increase dues, it increases ours too. So we understand it's going to hit your pocketbook, and it sucks because it's going to hit ours too.
Yeah, I mean,
So,
and
we
again,
don't
I
make
think
these
it's all about
decisions
perspective
lightly.
too, right? When I listen to Laura, I'm reminded of my perspective versus yours, because again, from I'm telling you, not as a board member, as a newer owner, my perspective is, it's kind of crappy that I pay almost $600 a month and I can't even get new mulch in our courtyard, and I'm paying for the neighbor's dilapidated place that's run down from a bunch of renters. That kind of frustrates me, but there's nothing I can do. I gotta pay it too, you know? So, but I'm on it. I will make sure that when they're available, we will get those financials uploaded, and I'll send an email out to our cluster to notify them that it's uploaded there so everybody can take a look.
We need to work on the list that I gave to repairs, but we also, we can't continue. Listen, I've been here since '79. We need to work on our reserves. We're gonna be forced to now with the reserve, what's it called again?
Reserve study.
I know,
Yeah.
so I guess I don't need to say it because now we're gonna be forced to, but, we gotta, we just can't go on forever like this. That's why everybody's leaving. I mean, I've talked to a lot of people. They know it's coming,
Yeah. I mean, and
It has to,
honestly,
yeah.
it's because of
And
the
I don't
fact
mind
that
it. I
hasn't
don't
been-
mind it.
It hasn't been a successful
I don't
managed
mind
in
it. What I
decades.
just want is start early, start now,
We
go
understand.
slow and small.
fall, we understand.
because people can't pay. I know it has to happen, I'm the one that understands, I could have been a board member like years, I mean, I know everything here. I
Well,
know
that'll
everything.
be in the fall.
Believe me, we do understand that.
End of summer, fall, with the reserve study stuff, and the board will vote on those. You guys will all be invited to that meeting, I'm sure that'll be fun. And then, and that'll be
But
for
bringing
starting
us back
January
down,
1st.
some people are leaving, but the people that are coming are looking. That's why we need to really focus on, you know, not only the present, but the future, because I can tell you a few, right in cluster 2, personal, buyers, meaning like just for their own purposes, they love it on photos, and then they come and they see the surroundings, and then they change their minds. So that's why I'm saying we need to focus on the future too.
Megan, we need to,
Okay.
we
We gotta
need
move
to
on.
we need to pull up the dead plan.
Okay. Deb, did you have something, because I know you raised your hand, and I want to be respectful of that before we adjourn.
Guess there's two things. One is, on the reserve, because it seems like there's a thought about the reserve, and then there's catch-up, or not catch-up, but the emergency money that we've been spending. The thought that we might even need to have a special assessment for cluster 2 just because we're so far behind. When you're looking at that, knowing this is gonna go up, just to get the reserves in straight,